Alrighty, welcome everybody. My name is Steve Keller. I'm with my friend Ken Close, and we're on opposite ends of the country. I'm in the southeast in Greenville, South Carolina, and Ken, you're up in Washington.
Yeah.
And so we're coming together today to have a conversation about the little Healy. And we're doing this for a very particular audience, right? If you are excited about this device, but you're not so technically adept, and you're a little nervous about doing it, or you're a little frustrated, we're gonna make this super simple and fun for you. We want to make sure that we take the stress out of you using it, take the stress out of figuring out what's wrong with it, because sometimes it has glitches. It works for a while, then it doesn't work. We want to make that easy for you, and if we can do that, hopefully we can make it very easy and confident for you to share with some other people, right? Because there's people out there who do not yet know about this little magical device who really need to. Okay, so a couple things here. I'm going to screen share and we're going to talk about the basics of what we're doing. If I go to this current URL which we're using, and we might use a different one, which is www.mydevicehelp.com, right? You'll see it comes up to a YouTube playlist, okay? And a couple things we want you to do first here, okay? When you get here, if you see this subscribe button right there, I want you to hit that subscribe button, okay? And after you hit it, you're gonna need to sign into a Google channel. And after you hit that, we also want you to hit, there's gonna be a little button, a little bell for updates, okay? So for example, if I sign into my personal Gmail account, okay? Now I'm gonna hit subscribe and see that little button right there. I'm also gonna hit that little button, ding, because I want to get all of the updates. That way, if there's, for example, a new glitch or some update that you need to be updated about, if you hit the subscribe button and the notification, it'll send you, hey, we just did a new video for the problem that your device is probably having at this very moment. Wouldn't that be nice? So now a couple other things. When you click on this first video, in the description right here, we click on the show more. We're going to have a lot of extra information in here for you and in the other videos. We're going to have timely announcements about your device. For example, maybe the server in Germany just did an update and they're having a particular problem with iOS. We'll post it here. Say, hey, give it a couple days, it'll be okay. Instead of you going, is my device wrong? Is my phone broken? You know, you'll be like, oh, okay. Now we know, right? One thing we want to do is we want to make sure that you don't keep on adding unnecessarily tickets to the back office. Because if we add too many tickets to the back office, then if you have actually something super important that needs to get handled, they'll actually get to it in a timely manner. So also, we'll put in timely announcements about trainings here. Maybe there's a Sunday training coming up with somebody, or maybe we're doing, help Zoom during the week, or maybe there's the USA, Wednesday call that you want to be on, right? Also, this video that we're about to do is probably going to be pretty long, okay? Don't worry about that. Right here, we're going to go through the video and timestamp and time link different spots to it, right? If you're like, oh, that my device, the connection seems to be always in black and not in white, what do I do? Hey, if you look at the description here, it will, all you have to do is go down there, find that, click, it pulls right up, okay? So one thing I want you to understand is that this device, on one hand, can be magically simple and super powerful, and can be quite complicated at the same time, right? You do not need to know everything about this device to get a benefit. Wouldn't you say that's true, Ken?
I agree, 100%.
People get paralysis of analysis. They're like, okay, I have to spend 3 days studying it before I can even use it. Like, whoa. Start simple. Play around with it. I think there's also often I run into misconception people have. They think you can only do it one particular way, or else And it's like, yes, try it, right? Sure, there's some good suggestions on how to do things. You're not likely to break it, right? Don't stress too much about it. You have anything else along those lines to add?
There's 100%. This is, it has a amazing capability and technology, but the operation is actually fairly straightforward and fairly simple. And these are operating from an app. And I think that we go to work to make things complicated most of the time. So as we go through this, you'll see that, yeah, there's certain areas in which we could expand on and learn a bit more. But if you want to get started, get things operational right out of the box, then here's where we go and here's what we're going to do. And then later on expand, and we'll continue to expand here and give you further and further adventures.
Yeah. So kind of my job here is like, I'm the guy who likes to make things simple, and Ken is the brilliant engineer. So we can go deep, and then we pull back to simple if necessary. But I think, Ken, one thing you do so amazingly well, which is rare for someone with your technical background, is you have the ability to make things simple, which is beautiful. So we're gonna tap into that today.
Well, thank you.
So
That's the thing. I think if we can explain rocket science if we can do it in a language in which the person receiving it understands. So that's, again, the way that we're going to try to work this today, is to be able to explain rocket science or Healy science in a
perfect.
language in which people can understand.
So I've got a question for you. Imagine this. We step onto an elevator together, and I notice this thing clicked onto your shirt. And I go, what is that thing? We've got like 3 floors. What do you tell me?
I love that. So what's the answer to that? What is this thing clipped onto your shirt? So my elevator speech is that if one understands energy, if one understands the law of attraction, if one understands that there is a unified field, then what I say to people is this is simply the bridge between the quantum field of information and the biological and physical fields of matter. And this is how we align things between our best version and the current version.
I like it. Cool. My elevator speech is kind of like, it's a frequency device from Germany. It has the ability to measure what frequency you need and then turn around and deliver it.
There you
There
go.
we go. So my other simple explanation is this, is that, I like to say that this device kind of lives in 2 worlds at the same time. On one hand, this device has the ability to give you 120 or more different microcurrent programs. Okay. And to do that, you got to be attached to cords. Okay. And I like to say a bit that kind of lives in a little bit of the Newtonian physics world. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Right. At the same time, it has a quantum sensor in it, which can tap into the quantum field to read your frequency to make sure that the microcurrents are being delivered properly, but also the ability to read your information field, operate in the quantum realm. So it's kind of a cool device that will do both things at the same time. So let's get right to it. You've got your new Healy device. What are we going to have to do here? First, do they need to charge it before they use it much?
Well, so you get a box, right? You get this fun little Healy box right there, right? And inside that Healy box, there's going to be the Healy, right? So you've got this little device right there in the middle, and you pop that guy out. And step one is to charge it. I mean, this does have an onboard rechargeable battery, so it needs to be charged. And the key is to find the cord that's inside your box and plug it in right there. There you go. So it's a standard, by the way, in terms of these connectors. You see that that we have a port in the backside of these devices. There's actually 3. So the one that is elongated, there's 2 circular ones and one that's elongated. The elongated one is a micro USB input. All right. So that's where you plug your micro USB. Now remember, micro USB, this is a very common type of connector cable that's utilized in many of these rechargeable devices, from phones to cameras to MP3 players, all kinds of things. So the cord itself is not proprietary or unique to Healy. So an MP3 type of cord or something that's a micro USB will also plug in there. But there is one that comes with your device. So plug it in, and then you'll have a 5-volt charger box. It's a USB that can either be plugged into your computer, can be plugged into.
I have to put it
let's
in a
talk about
particular way, Ken?
let's talk about that for just a second. Absolutely. So it does have, it's what's called polarized. So in other words, there's a wider portion at the top, a more slender portion at the bottom. So you can see it's kind of tapered. It's not exactly uniform top and bottom. So it can't be plugged in upside down. It cannot be plugged in upside down. So you got to find the end of your cord, take a look at the end of your cord, take a look at the input on the Healy, and kind of match those up to see how that would fit in there. You'll see, obviously, if it's upside down, it won't connect. If it's right side up, it will. And it'll go just like that into the device. And it should fit in there fairly securely. It's not going to be wobbly, and you're going to go all the way in. So it's going to stay connected once it's plugged in there. And you'll notice how it's plugged all the way in. Basically, it's not halfway hanging out. So the silver tab is actually inside the Healy device. All right. And then the other end is a standard USB cable, and that can plug into any USB charger. And there's lots of those out there, from like I said, your computer to whatever came with your cell phone, your smart device. Most likely they've got a port in which it can be plugged into. If you're an iOS operator, you'll get these cool little white boxes that have the USB port in one end, and then of course the other end plugs into the wall. But there's all kinds of different sizes, shapes, and colors of those. They'll all do the same thing. By the way, who knows what USB
one thing
stands
I'd like to add, troubleshooting wise, is that I've had people who plug it into their computer, and for some reason initially would it charge in their computer, then all of a sudden it won't charge anymore, it's broken. And I just have them, instead of plugging it in the computer, plug it into one of those little USB chargers in the wall. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, it's working now.
Yeah.
So
and
don't always assume that your computer is a reliable source for that.
That's a good point, because when you plug something into the USB port on your computer, your computer's actually looking for some kind of a digital device, right? It's looking for data transfer just as much as it is for power transfer. So this guy is not going to really do any data transfer, but it is going to need power. So your computer may operate the charging portion of that port for a while and then not. So the computer is not your best and most reliable way of charging. To me, I usually say, well, that's like a backup, but still, I don't recommend also charging these in just portions or bits and pieces. So in other words, when you plug it in, initially, you're going to get this guy, you plug it in, and the green light's going to come on. Let's do that real quick here.
Sure. I can get a little longer cord, and then I can probably do it on my end here.
Yeah, that is one of the things. They're not all that long that comes with it.
So like we talked about, you probably have multiple devices in your home, which will have the right charger here. I think this one should work for me.
So the one that comes with your Healy is a little white cord. I have one that's a little black cord. It's the same, and it will also do the same job. So when we plug it in, yeah, you'll see the green light come on. Let's see if we can see it in the camera. Oop. Yeah, a little green light comes on.
Yeah,
and then
there we go.
Set it and forget it. So in other words, when that green light comes on, go ahead and just set that guy aside. I know you want to get busy and play with your new toy, but let's give it some time to actually fully charge. Now, this could take 90 minutes, right? It could take easily a few hours. So let that just happen. That initial charge is important because it kind of sets the tone for the way in which the app is going to monitor that little battery indicator, right? So we want to give it a full on charge initially, let that do its job. And the green light will go off when it's done. So it's a smart charger.
Perfect.
Green light comes on, means all is good.
One hint for everybody out there, if you're in a very bright room and you don't have like 19-year-old eyes anymore, sometimes it's hard to see if that light's on for me. Sometimes, when I'm operating, I kind of got to cut my hands and go, okay, the lights are on or they're flashing. And if I was like outside or something, I'd be like, is this thing on? You can't tell. So sometimes they're not super bright. Sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah, great tip and something to remember. So if you've got overhead lights and they're super bright, you plug it in, you think it's not working, you unplug, plug it in, back and forth. Just Stephen did a great job there. Cup your hands, look into that little dark space. You'll see it.
All right.
So we're charging.
Got it charged. Beautiful. Now what?
All right. So now it's charged. Now, depending on what smart device you're operating with, either it's an iOS operating system or an Android.
Apple and Android. So we'll do both today. Perfect.
And I've got the Apple, I've got the iPhone. Steven's got the Android. Let's talk about the minimum operating systems.
Okay.
In the literature, and we're still kind of waiting for some updates, but in the literature, it actually says the iOS or the Apple iPhone operating system, the minimum is 9.0, but there's been an update and now it's 11.0. So that's a key thing to understand and remember. With the Android, it actually is based on device. The original minimum operating system was 4.4. Now they're saying based on device. So in other words, some devices, the operating system on that device may need to be higher. So
to simplify that for me, like I've got an Android, I have no idea what operating device I have. About how old? I mean, mine's I guess it does update itself, but mine was a Samsung S9. Always seemed to work.
yeah.
What
So the
about
older
what about an iPhone? How old an iPhone typically are we talking about here? If someone absolutely refused to update their phone, like some people I know, my wife, refuses to update her device. So
yeah, the cool thing about that is that the iPhone 5 actually even still works with it. So the key thing is, remember the phone version, whether it be the iPhone or the Android, isn't as important as what operating system that version can handle.
okay.
You could have an older device, but still it can handle newer operating systems and then still work fine. So that's kind of some important things to remember. I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to pull real quick here. If we take a look at some versions, I'm going to pull my phone up here real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
And show you something. We'll screen share this. All right. So here comes my phone. I'm going to show you in the app itself, there is, let's go to my pictures. In the app, it shows you, here are the versions that are compatible with the app. The different iPads, different phones, all these different devices. So there's a lot, and they're labeled specifically, but you see at the top up there, let's get the screen to update here. It actually says the iPhone 5S. Okay, so, and you'll see that it requires an iOS 9 or later, but compatible with, these are the actual iPhones, the 5S, the 6, the 6 Plus, and so on, all the way up, and all the way up to the 12. So, and then it goes into the iPads and such from there. But that's in the actual app. So you can actually take a look at the app before you even download it. You can take a look in the app and find these things.
Okay, cool. Here's a question for you. If I was like, you know what, I want to get a secondary device to run my Healy on, maybe I can use it with clients or just set it aside. Would you recommend Android over iOS?
That's a great question. With the current status of things, we're actually having some compatibility issues with the iOS. So the Android is a more reliable platform currently. Now, the iOS system doesn't necessarily allow a lot of writing to that particular operating system. In other words, you can't really change the programming features of the iOS. So, so it's a little more rigid. And then with devices, there are so many different types, and it's really going to be a word of mouth kind of understanding at this point, because you saw that list I gave you from the App Store, basically the Apple Store, that's a great list. But there's still way more devices out there that may be compatible that Healy is having to test each one of these one by one. So currently, there's some issues with the iOS system, and they're working on it. But yeah, if you want a secondary device, and I think that cost-wise too, a lot of these Androids
You
are
can get
less
an
money.
Android device that will work pretty cheap, and you
Yep.
don't need service because you just use Wi-Fi, right? So far to recap, step one, charge your device at least 90 minutes. Step two, any moderately new smartphone should work. If you're going to go one particular, try an Android. You probably have less issues and cheaper to do it.
Yep.
Great.
Great tip. 1, 2, 3.
Perfect.
So
next thing we have to do, download an app. I mean, I suppose some people, this may be the first app they've ever downloaded. So it's possible, right? So I've got an iPhone. I've never downloaded an app. What is this we're talking about? Where do I do this? How do I do this?
So these things are called smart devices, right? Smartphones, the iPad is smart devices. All right, what are they? They're basically portable computers. That's what our phone is today. And so what these computers can do is they can run programs. I mean, once upon a time, phones just made phone calls, and now they do everything. There's more computing power in these little phones than there was the Apollo mission. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Isn't it crazy? Used to take an entire floor of a building just to do the computing power that we could do with this phone. So with that, we need to know how to add apps, or what that's short for applications, by the way, how to add those to our device. With an iPhone or iOS, it's called the App Store. So I'm going to bring my phone back online here, and we're going to see what that looks like. And we're just going to show where to go, right? When you get a device, when you get an iPhone, there's some preloaded apps that are already on there. And these preloaded apps are essentially, they're kind of like part of your home screen. And there's one that kind of looks like, I call it a picnic table. All right. Let's see, let's let the phone catch up for a second here. I push buttons a little faster than what our Zoom call can catch up to.
Yeah.
Waiting for my screen to get started here. All right, come on, screen. There's the apps that are already loaded on your home screen.
There we go.
There's one that's at the bottom layer down there. Kind of looks like a picnic table, and it says
picnic
App Store.
Teepee, like a popsicle stick.
Yep, there you go.
Triangle. Got it.
Click on the App Store, and then that's going to open my ability.
Can you see my cursor, by the way, when I put it across the screen?
No. Let's see. You can see mine.
That doesn't work. There we go.
Okay. So it's
we're
loading
opening the App Store.
Yep. And down at the bottom of the screen, there's a search tab. See down here?
Bottom right. So the magnifying glass is the search tab.
Yep. So that's in pretty much in icon language. That magnifying glass will signify search. Okay, this is basic icon 101 class.
Okay.
So we click on that, and now we are able to, at the top of the screen up there, we're able to type in some search criteria, a keyword. All right, and we're going to type in Healy. Okay, so Healy. And we'll see what it pulls up. So now not all of them are pulling up everything today. I mean, there's if you type in Healy, you have what's called Healy Analysis, Healy Advisor, and we got the World GmbH. So these are the Healy ones. You got Watch and so on and so on. So let's just take a look at what the first one looks like. All right, I'm going to click on the very first one, see what we get. All right, so the cool thing about the apps that we've discovered is that the icon looks really similar. It's a gray circle with a little dot under it. And there's a differentiation between a pink dot and a blue dot. And that actually helps us to identify what we're looking at. Of course, there's a name, but there's Healy, and then there's Healy Analysis. So what's the difference, right? We're going to differentiate that as we go through, but we're going to start with what we call the Healy or pink dot app.
So
Okay.
that's the first one, right?
That's the first one at the top of the screen here. In the Pink Dot app, it's going to be everything that is associated with the current, the actual microcurrents into the body. Okay.
So
That you're
that means that I'm taking these cords. What does it mean by doing microcurrents? I'm going to take these cords, I'm going to plug them into my device and attach these things to my body and run one program at a time through my body through the Pink app.
Yep. Utilizing a microcurrent function. Now, microcurrent is a very, very, very small amount of current flow into the body, which has been studied to optimize cell interaction. All right. So there's a lot of studies around this that you can look into, but microcurrent is the sweet spot for the cell's ATP production and certain things going on with the cell. So this is why Healy operates within this very specific amount of current flow. All right, so so that's a big benefit. And what Healy does is they actually send very specific frequencies into the body on this microcurrent. In other words, it's like a carrier wave. So when you were tuning in a particular radio station in your car, there are tons and tons and tons of frequencies being bombarded into your antenna, and you just tune in one particular frequency. Maybe it's rock and roll, maybe it's country, maybe whatever it is. You're differentiating those frequencies, but the carrier, which is this magnetic wave, is sending all those to your car, and then you just differentiate that. This system kind of does the same thing. The carrier is the microcurrent, but on that microcurrent are these.
How about we do this? Let's talk a little bit more detail about it when we've downloaded the program. We actually see that, and then maybe that people will connect more like the different programs and currents to what's actually going on their phone.
Yeah. Okay. So here's our Pink Dot or microcurrent app. So there's a little cloud icon up at the top here. Now I have already installed these on my device.
Okay.
So you may not have this little cloud. In fact, if you've done this for the first time, you're not going to have this little cloud icon. You're just going to have a download function, a blue word that you click on to download this. So I'm going to click on this little blue cloud, and you're going to see it's going to start to load. All right. There's a little circular thing going on. It's going to start to load. In your case, it's going to look different. It's going to be a download function. And then when it gets all loaded on your device, then there'll be an open command. Okay. So currently it's just sitting there. What am I on? I'm on my, my data. So if I was on my Wi-Fi, it'd probably go a lot faster. If you notice at the top of the screen up here, let's just take a look at this, what we're looking at the top of the screen up here.
Okay.
It says LTE. So my device, my smart device, is transferring data over my cellular LTE network. Now yours might say 4G, it might say 5G. That's the transfer medium in which your smart device is receiving and sending data. So I'm going to do a quick change while that's loading. Oh, all right, never mind, loaded. So now you see that command.
So you could do it over your data plan through your phone company or through connecting your phone to your Wi-Fi, either one.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. Let me switch really quickly. I'm going to show you how to switch that. I'm going to go and do it in my settings. I click on Wi-Fi. I turn on my Wi-Fi. And now it's going to
where's your show people where the settings button is on your iPhone, because we're going to have to talk about this a little bit later when we turn like Bluetooth thing on and off on your phone, right?
That's right. So on your home screen, you're going to have a settings tab. This is what it looks like on an iOS, on an iPhone.
So it's on the left, 3 down from the top. Looks like gears, right? It's
can you see my cursor?
I can't. No, on the Zoom, your cursors don't show up.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So on the far
both left, on Android and iPhone, the settings button will look like gears. Right.
Yeah. So you see, like Stephen said, on the far left, third one down, it says settings underneath there. And there's this kind of gear looking icon in the center. So when you click on that, now it opens your settings tab. And and here's all the different things I can do with my settings: airplane mode, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular, such that we're going to talk about later. But what I want to do right now is I want to go ahead and turn Wi-Fi on. And at the top of the screen, there's a little green slider. You tap on it. By the way, these look like slider buttons on your screen, but you don't actually slide them.
Right.
You literally just tap on them and they toggle from where they are to where they're going to go.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that we'll address later on, because it actually becomes a significant issue when you're trying to.
People have a major problem trying to slide it over when it's not a sliding slidey
It doesn't
thingy.
slide.
It does
So
not
you just
slide.
tap on that. There you go. Now I've turned the Wi-Fi on.
So you want to tap on, to be real clear, you want to tap to the right of the circle because that's where you want the circle to slide over to. That's how that works.
Yeah, depending on the size of your finger, sometimes you just tap on it and it works. But anyway, the point is, yeah, you tap on that guy and it shifts over to its other condition. And I already have a Wi-Fi that I'm logged into. So here we go. All right.
So I do have a quick suggestion for everybody. If you're of a certain age that this stuff frustrates you, you know the simplest thing to do? Find a teenager.
Exactly.
That's really it. Hey, I need to download an app on my phone. It'll take them like 30 seconds instead of you trying to monkey around for 20 minutes, right? That's just goodness.
Exactly.
Have your 6-year-old grandkid do it. Okay, they're not gonna have any problem. Why that is, I don't know. Right?
They are raised in an age of technology, so they're
Yes.
born with it.
When in doubt, find a teenager. Bam, solved.
Exactly. So there's the app. So you see that little blue open word. Words that are blue like this are typically a command. If you see at the bottom of the screen, you see some other icons. There's the today, the games, apps, and so on. But you see the blue search. And so those are typically, when they're blue, they're meaning there's some kind of a button, activated button. That's just another way of
kind of it. Well, if you tap on the blue thing, you go from here to somewhere else.
Correct. It is it's a command. It's a direction. So we see the word open. And so up there at the top of the screen, there is on the right side open. I'm going to go ahead and click on open.
Got it.
But before I do that, now that we've downloaded this app, okay, so where'd it go? Right? It's downloaded. Okay, I can open it from here if I wish. But what if I want to go to my home screen and see, well, where is that app? So
it's lost.
It's gone. I don't see it on this. Oh my God. Look at all these apps. What happened to this? Where is it? I don't even know.
Oh, it'd take you forever to find it every single time. That would be super frustrating.
I can't find it. But what happens is it always loads it at the end of all your lists. So you see at the bottom of the screen? It's right down there. And so I can tap on it from there as well and open this. So I can tap on that and open that app.
Cool. Now, is there a way to find an app on your iPhone?
There is. And so when we go to our home screen, we go to our home screen. If I was to continue shuffling to moving from the outside of my screen, right, sliding my thumb across the screen, I have a search function. So in other words, what I'm doing right now, you can't see me on this side, but I'm just simply sliding my finger across.
So you're kind of doing that while you're touching your screen.
Correct. Okay. And when I slide my finger from outside the border of my screen to the right, I move from page to page. Now, if I continue doing that all the way through the very end of my pages, I wind up with a search tab at the top of the screen. So I click on the search tab. See that?
Yeah.
Click on that search tab. And if I was to say Healy, look what pops up.
Oh, there it is.
Right there at the top of the screen is any Healy apps that I have. Now I have other apps already loaded, but just to show you what shows up, anything I've searched for, anything that has the word Healy in it, from maybe messages I've gotten, anything I've saved on my phone that has the word Healy in it, it's all right there.
Perfect.
So from that screen, I can tap on that, what we call the pink dot app right there. on the
So
far.
let's get super basic.
Uh-huh.
What exactly are we talking about tapping? Some people have an issue with the tapping not obeying. I know
Well,
my
not
80-year-old parents do. So are we talking about a tap or are we talking about a pink, like, what are we talking about here?
So the time in which you sat there in this lecture, you hated every moment of it, and you sat there tapping your finger on the table because you were just so bored out of your mind, or you tapped your foot on the floor, that's not stomping. That's just kind of impatiently tapping on something, right? That's a tap. Yeah, just like he's doing. He's tapping on his head. So that's a tap.
Like, hello, McFly, right? Something like that.
Now, another thing to consider too, on these smartphones, on these screens, these are touch sensitive. So one finger tap versus two finger tap versus three finger tap is also a very significant different signal, different message to this touch screen. It's a very intuitive screen. It knows when you tap with one finger, it knows when you slide, it knows when you tap with two fingers, it knows when you've done tap once, when you've tapped quickly twice. All that kind of stuff is like, whoa, wait a minute. Now I got to get to become a tap expert. Well,
I find my father, who's 87, has a little bit easier time. You can buy these little pens with a little rubberized thing at the end, and you kind of use it like you use that thing to touch your phone or your smart device. Sometimes that's a little easier for people. Oh, you got one of those right there. Perfect.
Exactly. So these pens do have these, some of them, they're called stylists too. Pens have these little rubber tips on the end. It's not just for scratching your cheek, but those are for actually, they're conductive, and they actually activate the screen by tapping on it. So that's a good question though about tapping. What's that mean? And understanding that one finger, little tap, and it's not press and hold, it's a tap. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're going to tap on that pink dot, and now you'll see it. There it goes. It opens up the screen. Now, what was shown earlier that we kind of bypassed there was a screen that popped up that asked us to allow access by the app to certain things about our phone.
Okay.
Now, because
that
I
sounds
switched,
suspicious. It makes me nervous.
I know, right? People are going, wait a minute, access to my phone. Are they going to go and take a look at my contacts? And what about the pictures I have of my kids? Are they going to take a look at that? No, the app is really only interested in very specific things. Yes, it is interested in your camera. Yes, it is interested in your location systems. Yes, it is interested in your data or ability to transfer information. But at some point we have to trust that it's working for our best interest, and to allow those things. When the app is asking for you to allow to have access to your location systems or any of the things within your phone, just allow it, and have faith that it's not using it maliciously, because it's not. This screen comes up and says the disclaimer. So this is a disclaimer that Healy has to put up there. It's talking about, while scientific research, it's just their way of talking, saying, look, there's not a ton of research on. It's hard to prove the quantum field sometimes in its interaction with our bodies. It's really hard. There's to come up with a double-blind placebo study that comes up with
not going to happen.
not going to happen. So
yeah.
So this is why it has to be this way, because people are looking for studies and data.
So we do, to be clear, when we're doing microcurrents, the microcurrent aspect of the Healy in the US and in Europe, we do have medical certification as a class 2 medical device in the US, particularly with pain. Okay. So it's the microcurrents that are able to have that level of research, and it's a certified medical device is not FDA approved for anything. So, and that is an important distinction for people.
Yeah, cleared, FDA cleared versus FDA certified, two different things. This is an FDA cleared class 2 medical device. Yeah. And so the other thing too to understand is there is a lot of research on microcurrent and its effects on the body, a ton of research. And so it's not like Healy's making up new technology. It's just giving us the ability to use it in a wearable device.
Yeah.
So there's lots of information we can look at. So at the bottom of the screen, we click on the next tab. All right. Here is the liability acceptance form. We read through that, take a look at that. And if we agree to that, we click on next. And now it's going to try to connect to my Healy. Here's where it's important to have your Healy on. Now I do not have my Healy on right now. I want to show you a distinction.
Okay.
I don't have my Healy on.
So here's where we find it's like the window of frustration right here.
Exactly. Because, we got done charging our Healy. It's all charged up. The green light went off and we're ready to play with our device. Now we've gone through the process of finding the app and loading the app and figuring out where it went on our smartphone. And now we're here and we are stuck. What's going on? So I said, well, I have a Healy. Okay. So I can either say I have a Healy. You see a little pink oval there, or the one below that is kind of a dim gray text that says, I am interested in a Healy. If we tap on I am interested in a Healy, this app is simply a marketing tool and it sends us right to the Healy website. So we can go and buy a Healy. But we already have one, so we don't need to do that. But this is a way that it's a marketing tool that the user can go right to Healy and buy a device. Where it says I have a Healy. Now, if I don't have my Healy on, and this is a Bluetooth interaction. So the app is trying to take a look at, you see that little icon on the screen? There's a smartphone and then there's a little wavy looking signature. And then there's a Healy.
Signals to each other.
Yeah. It's like, what's that mean? Well, that means there's probably some kind of interaction between the two. So I'm going to click on I have a Healy. Now I haven't turned my Healy on. Now here's where the frustration starts to happen. Wait a minute. Okay. I have a Healy, but now what do I do? Connect to Healy? Do I search for a Healy? What do I do? So let's just try going to the search for a Healy. All right. I'm going to click on search for a Healy. There's that wheel going round and round again.
Question for you. What should my level of expectation be that to connect my phone to my Healy will typically look the same way every single time?
Well, yeah, no, there's, we have lots of things that possibly interfere with connections. Lots of things. I mean, if we have too many apps running in the background, if we have remember what I said, this is a smart device, smartphone, smart tablet, whatever. And we're using it for what? Well, we're using it for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Like we might be using it for texts and our calculator and checking the weather and taking a look at our Facebook page, all kinds of stuff running in the background. If that's happening, it's consuming CPU power or processor power or memory. It's just using that up. So if we have all that stuff open in the background and we're trying to operate something that's essentially a little bit CPU hungry, it wants a lot of resources to do its job, then we're probably going to run into some problems. Connectivity might be flighty. All right. So it's best to close all the apps in the background that you might be running before we even get started with this. Now, how do you do that? Oh my gosh. Well, that's another little training module, but let's look at it. Let's look at how you do this. Right.
So my overview, simple thing would be this. If you're having issues connecting your phone to your device, there's maybe like 4 different things that could fix it. It may be they may need to happen in different orders occasionally, and sometimes the right solution may have to happen a couple times in a row till it actually works. Does that make sense? Yep. So it's kind of like wiggling. You wiggle, I gotta jiggle the lock till it goes in there. It's kind of like that, right? You just kind of like wiggle it and you're like, okay, there we go. So imagine 4 different suggestions on solutions and I tried this one, I tried that one, I tried that one a couple times and then it worked. So as long as you have that expectation, you're not going to get too frustrated with it. But if you think you're doing something fundamentally wrong, or if the device is fundamentally broken, if it won't immediately do the same correct thing, then your level of expectation will just produce frustration, and it'll be more difficult for you.
Yeah. And what happens when we get frustrated? Does common sense go up or down?
Oh, it goes right down the toilet. Yeah.
Yeah. And when frustration goes higher and higher, pretty soon here comes the hammer and we're just throwing it out the window, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, so when I mentioned about CPU resources being utilized in other areas, on an iPhone, if you double click, well, now there's a couple of things. One is going to have to take the time to learn their device. I'm sorry. You're just going to have some understanding, basic understanding about your device. So if you just got a device, a smart device, because you got a Healy, well, we got a bit of training to do on both sides, because that smart device you need to know how to operate it. You need to know how to get to certain stuff, just like we showed you earlier, how to get to the app store, where does the app wind up once it's loaded, how to get to the settings screen, certain things like that. We also need to know how to hard close apps, right? How do we hard close these programs, right? And this is important because we get too many things running, or we think that the Healy is not operating in the background, but yet the app is still running, and suddenly we find our battery goes dead or something odd. So let me show you quickly on anything of a iPhone 10 and below, one who actually has a home button. It's a little button at the bottom of the screen, a little circular button at the bottom of the screen. If you double click that button, what it does, it now reveals all of the apps that are running in the background. Okay, look at all these. Look at all these. I've got my settings open. I've got Zoom call open. I've got, I've got that photo thing open. I got another Zoom. What's all look at all this stuff that's running in the background. Every one of these are utilizing CPU resources. So what do I do with them? Well, I don't need them. So I'm going to go ahead and close them. So I start with the calculator app. I just simply put my finger on the center of that. Maybe just put it on the 8, right? You see that 8 there? I just put my finger on it and slide straight up. Here we go. Gone.
Oh,
That's a hard close of an app. That's a hard close of an app. So you put your finger in the center of the screen. Here's the weather app. I put it in the center of the blue screen there and swipe up. Gone.
Like you're tossing it out of the way.
Like I'm just flinging it up out of the way. Watch this. Here we go. So I'm just going to do it for you here. Slide up. Gone.
Hey, right? Do this. Go back to your, I want to show some people something. Go back to your YouTube icon. Right? And say, for example, what are we doing on the iPhone? Hard closing an app. Hard closing, like if you went to the search icon on YouTube and you went hard close iPhone app.
Yep, you tap that little magnifying glass at the top right of the screen, and you say hard close app. See what shows up? iPhone right there.
Look at that. There's probably so 20 beautiful videos on how to do exactly that.
Let's see. Here's how to do it. Right.
Perfect. So when in doubt, there's you can go on Google and search that exact term. You can go on YouTube and search that exact term. Anything you need to do, like download app Android, you would find something on how to find the App Store on your Android too. Right.
And there's one right there, hard close app on Android. Click on that one. There it is.
Look at that.
How to do it on either device.
Videos. Right. So that's just, there's always somebody who has made a beautifully simple video to help you with your device.
Just like us.
Level. Yeah, exactly. So there's always something out there.
Super simple. All right. So here's the app. We're back to this spot. Our Healy is not turned on. There's nothing going on with the Healy, and we're trying to find our Healy. So here's a very important distinction about sequencing. The app is not going to find a Healy that's not turned on, right? When it's not turned on, it's like having your television off and trying to watch a movie. Not going to happen. Yeah. All right. So what do? Well, there's a little button in the center, and it's kind of a little round circular button there. And if you rub your finger across it, can you see that on the screen? Okay. Steven's showing you.
I'm showing.
If you rub your finger across
it's slightly raised right there, huh?
Yeah. You can
And
kind of
that is
feel.
the universal symbol in the middle there for the power button.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So that's the power button icon. And you rub your finger across it. When you find the raised portion, just give it a quick, brisk press and release. All right.
Made a little bit of a noise.
A little bit of a clicky sound.
Oh, I see
And
a
then the
flashing
green
light.
light. And the green light starts to flash. And it's going to flash at a very consistent rhythmic rate. Right? There you go. Flash, flash, flash. Okay. That's just saying the power is on. That's all that's saying. And now the power is on. Let's see what happens when I click on search for another Healy. All right. So let's click on that, search for Healy. There goes the wheel round and round and round. And the app is now trying to find any devices out there that have a Healy signature. Well, what's that mean? Well, Healy has its own very distinct signature, kind of like a radio station sending it to your car, and your car picks up an antenna information, and there you go. So now I found it. And it's now needs to have a closer distinction with your Healy. So in other words, it found a Healy, it was on. Maybe Steve and I were in the same room and we both had our Healys on, right? But mine is unique to me and his is unique to him. So how do we create that distinction? On the back of your Healy, there's a serial number, right? And there's a QR code. This funny looking code thing that just looks like a mess on the back of there. It's like a square box with a bunch of little wiggly lines and stuff. It's like, what is that? That's called a QR code. All right. So
that one is the QR code.
Yep. The one with the 3 boxes.
This one is not.
Yeah. So you'll notice on the screen here, it shows a pink box with a black square looking shape. And there's, again, 3 kind of other squares in that shape. So that's the QR code. And what that is just the camera has the ability to essentially read that hieroglyphic as information. In other words, what's imprinted in that information is the serial number of your Healy. So what you do is you click on scan QR code at the bottom of the screen, click on that, and it's going to open your camera. You hold your Healy in front of your camera, and you got to move it in or out or back or forth until it finally, your camera actually lines up on the QR code.
Try a little higher.
There.
There we go. Boom.
You saw me move it around a bit, right? I was moving the Healy around so that the camera could actually key in on that QR code. And then you'll see a number. If you take a look at the back of your Healy, that little imprinted number is going to match. You want to make sure it matches. Take a look. You see the numbers, 01:01, so on and so on, 1A at the end. Okay, that matches my Healy.
Like mine ends in 6E, and I have a little sticker on the back of it, so I can differentiate my Healys easily.
Yeah, when you have more than one, that's a great idea, by the way. You have all these different, the numbers are small, so you want to be able to make them legible. So now at the bottom of the screen, we have that word connect. So let's click on connect and take a look at your Healy, because that green light was flashing. As soon as the connect function kicks in, then the Bluetooth light will start to flash. Okay, so on the screen, on the front of your display, or on the front of your Healy, there are 2 lights. There is a green light and a blue light. There's different icons there. The Bluetooth icon is another recognizable character.
So I connected my device to my Healy, and when I told it to grab this particular serial number Healy, now my blue light started flashing right there.
Yep. So now we're linked via the Bluetooth signal. So this is the radio signal between the Healy and the smart device. All right. So once it does that, there's a signal that goes from your app to the cloud. Now this is the Healy cloud. The cloud is essentially where Healy has everything is there. All the members' allocations and the programs and all of amazing stuff that's in the cloud. We'll go over that later. but the app sends a signal to the cloud via your Wi-Fi, whatever your connection is that your smart device is doing to connect to the outer world, and then comes back and verifies the serial number on your Healy and then says, okay, now we can update. A lot of times what happens is you see at the top of the screen that word programs, and then there's a blue bar there. Initially, when you first saw that the Healy connected to my app, there was no notification in the center that said an update is available. That was not there. All right.
Yeah.
There was just some some tabs, programs, therapist TAN, settings, and information. I'm going to go ahead and click on no because I want to get rid of this right here. And we're going to do this a different way. So this is what you would see right here. Programs, therapist TAN, settings, and information. What this means is essentially that the app itself is just the skeletal structure of what you've purchased, of your edition. It's just a skeletal structure. We have to load it.
Right.
And so people are
like a 3-ring binder with no paper in it yet.
That's it. Exactly. If we were to click on that top tab, programs, oh, wow. Okay. I got programs.
Holy crap,
right
Ken, where are my programs? I paid for all these programs.
I paid for,
They're not here.
I've got the gold. Where's my gold? I don't know what this means. Yeah, we hear this a lot. All I have is a blue screen. And if I click on that little tab right there, what do I get? Well, what's this mean? I don't even know what I'm doing here. Well, the problem is that you have not loaded anything. Nothing is loaded. And so what we have to do at the top of the screen up there on the far left, there's what we call, what looks like 3 little lines. That's a menu, or we can call it the hamburger. Kind of looks like
the hamburger. Got it.
The hamburger. If we click on that, and then it brings us back to that screen, click on it again. Now it brings us back to our menu. This is our menu. And the important part here is the settings tab. Now, I can explain all 4 of these. Of course, the programs is the one where we just at the blue screen, nothing there. Therapist TAN. This is a place in which we can have customized programs made for us by a time waiver technician or a therapist for our particular needs, and they'll be loaded there. That's super cool. The settings tab is, again, a deeper dive into the menu. And then information. That's things about the company, about the version of your app, stuff like that. So we're going to click on settings right now. All right. So we'll click on settings, that little arrow at the far right. Boom. All right. So here's some more things we can do. Sounds, notifications, connect to another Healy, activity logging. Anyway, now, first thing I want my programs. I just want to be able to use my Healy.
Yeah.
How do I get there? Well, you saw this automatic function earlier because I stalled on that screen for a while, and the cloud recognized I was trying to log in and sent me a beautiful update. And it'll do that. It'll do it automatically. But I wanted to show you this. So I said, no, not going to do that update right now. I want to show you how to actually do it manually. And you'll see the 5th one down. It says check for updates. Right. So let's click on check for updates. So now it's going to do the same thing it did initially automatically, but now I'm doing it manually. So it's looking for updates available for what I purchased. And boom, there it is. It found an update. All right. So let's go ahead and click on OK and see what happens. So now this is a time in which it's a good idea to be on the Wi-Fi, right? Because we're putting a lot of information into the app. Now look at this. Now I've got all my apps.
There it is.
And so it says that the update of the program configurations, all that's been successful and complete. So we can click on OK. And now you can see, look at there. Remember I just had one blue little bar before?
Yeah, that didn't look very fun. This looks very exciting.
Now I got a lot of stuff to look at. And so we can go through there. Now we have all of our programs. We can just click on one, and the top one.
So to review, let me review real quick again. Charge your device 90 minutes. Download the Pink Dot app. Open the Pink Dot app. Then turn your device on. You should have a blue flashing light. You have to have your phone search for the device. Initially, it will want to use your camera to scan the code off the back. By the way, if you're having issues with that and you can see the number, you can enter it manually. Subsequently, most of the time, You could just go connect to Healy, and it will already remember it and will do it. You may occasionally need to rescan it. First time, you may need to update the device in settings if you don't have any programs, the dreaded blue screen. And then we find ourselves here. We're like, cool, exciting. I'm
Yeah.
super pumped. Now what do I do? We want to run some stuff.
So in that sequence we talked about before, I want to kind of elaborate some things that sequencing is a big deal. And to eliminate some of the stumbling stones, before you turn your app on, before you open your app, if you turn the Healy on first and then open the app, then this connection starts to be built as the app is booting up. So the app is booting up and a connection starts to be built behind the scenes, so that when you go to the point of when it's looking for a Healy, it'll already find it. It'll be much faster, and it'll skip one of those steps where it says search for another Healy or I have a Healy. It'll actually find it in advance, right? So you can skip some of the things. I just wanted to show you, if you forgot to turn your Healy on, what's the worst case scenario, right?
Got
And
it. Sure.
what's the most amount of steps I have to take? And that's what we showed. To reduce a couple of steps, if you turn your Healy on before you open the app, that shifts the equation a little bit.
Right.
So now what?
It's kind of like you go grocery shopping with your spouse and you misplace them in Walmart, right? You're not always going to find them the same way every time.
Yeah, and this, I just want to show that there are more than one way to get to the same result. It's not broken. That's the point. It's not broken. There's more than one way. And you heard Stephen say earlier, there's lots of ways that it can get to the same point. And we just want to be able to show you all those ways. So
it's not like your car where you start the car one way, only one way every single time. It's like you had 4 ways to start your car. Right?
Exactly.
And that's okay. It doesn't mean your car's broken. It's just like a little fancier or whatever,
Yeah. So here's some, let's go back to the settings for a moment, because I want to show you guys some other distinctions within the settings. If you saw at the top of the screen there, when I first showed you this screen in settings before we actually updated the device, you saw some German, right? It was in a different language. Now, I have English as the default, but that's because my device is a US device. If the version of this app that it went up to the cloud, took a look at my account and came back with information going, oh, this guy's in the United States, probably going to speak English. Let's go ahead and choose that for him. Right.
Perfect.
So, and we also have some other things at the top of the screen. It says turn off sound, deactivate notifications. What are those? Okay. When you run a program in the Healy Pink Dot app, at the end of the program, it plays a catchy little tune, right? That's not bad. It's just that
German techno music.
Techno music. Yeah. It may not be the most convenient for that little tune to kick on when you're maybe in your daughter's rehearsal or ballet recital or in church maybe, right? So you may want to choose to turn that off.
I may or may not have had that go off in church.
May or may not. So anyway, when you toggle this, right now it says turn off sound. What's that mean? The opposite is true at this moment. Sound is on. If I tap it now,
look at that.
The opposite is true of this statement. Turn on sound, meaning right now sound is off. So it's complicated. It's a little complex right there. What do you mean? Okay, it says, so is sound on or off? Well, it's a command. If I tap it, I'm going to turn on sound, meaning currently sound is off. Does that make sense?
By the way, everyone, I am just now learning that I can turn off the sound on my Healy. So
and how long have you
everything we're sharing with you, you do not need to know to use it effectively, right?
And tell them how long you've had your Healy. It's like
since May, and I've sold like a ridiculous amount of them. So it's like, yeah, you don't need to know everything.
That's right.
So, or remember everything we're telling you. Just keep it simple.
The next one below that is deactivate notifications. So what's that mean? Currently the opposite is true. Activate notifications. Well, what's notifications? Well, Healy, when you're running this Pink Dot app and it's delivering microcurrent and frequencies into your body, it's not only delivering that, it's also evaluating the resonance of your body with that frequency. It's a very interesting and sophisticated system, but it's doing that to the tune of every 8 to 10 seconds. It's literally sending a frequency going, how's he doing? How's she doing? What's going on? And then giving feedback to the system going, doing great. Continue that one. Okay. Now next, how's it doing? What's the resonance like? Are we talking good? Come back with information saying, yep, we're doing right. That happens every 8 to 10 seconds. Those are notifications. So in other words, your app is going to give a notification to your smart device every 8 to 10 seconds. That might not be convenient for you. So if you happen to get out of the app and you answer a phone call, the app is still going to give you a notification every 8 to 10 seconds. And your phone's going to buzz or beep or make whatever thing you've set it up to do happen. So if you're on a phone call, beep, and you're like, well, what is this? Every 8 to 10 seconds is going to happen. So here's where you can turn that off. You can turn that entire function off. So what do? Tap on it. There we go. I tapped on it. Now the opposite of this statement is true. So enable notifications means that disable is on. Makes sense? So we're good. Of course, down at the bottom of this, we can change languages if we wish, but this is just essentially the basics. Tap on the hamburger at the top left of the screen. We're back to our programs. We are now ready to run a microcurrent program.
Okay.
All right.
So say if I have a new device, I don't have the resonance, so I can't do scans. And I'm like, well, holy crap, that's a lot of choices. What do I do? Which one do I do first? I'm overwhelmed. I'm just going to put the device aside for 3 months. That's like, we both had talked to a lady today. She had like some issues getting her connectivity, and she hasn't touched her device in like months. Never really used it. We're like, okay, well, let's fix this for you. So
yeah, let's learn how to use it, right?
Right.
So if you notice, this is kind of strategic. At the very top of the page is Gold Cycle. Gold Cycle is a page of programs. I'm going to open it by tapping on that arrow that's to the right. There are 7 programs here that essentially are the alignment tool for any human being or anybody, really. It is a series of frequencies created and programs created by Nuno Nina, which is a therapist, Portuguese therapist that's seen hundreds of thousands of patients and created these amazing programs to help with exactly what they're saying. You see the names of these, this gives us a clue. And we have definitions available in the back office. There's documents to show you what each one of these mean. So pure at the very top.
If I wanted a manual, where would I find that?
It's a great question. So let's go back to the hamburger at the top of the screen. Top left, click on hamburger, and let's scroll to the bottom. And where it says information, see the bottom tab, click on that arrow. Take a look what's available.
Ooh, instructions for use.
Oh my goodness. So there's the software version, there's all the information about the hardware, the serial number, all that shows up at the top, but then we have instructions for use, the manual website, meaning Healy's website, data protection. What's data protection? This is the policy, the company's policy for your data and what's being done with it. Contact information such as about the company, and then imprint. Again, imprint is it's company information. All right, so you can just take a look at what about Healy. It's all right down there. But instructions for use is going to take us to a website. If I click on that, it'll take us to a website. If I click on manual, take us to a website. If I click on website, take us to a website.
Got it. Okay.
So there's all that right there. Okay, and the manual is, what is the manual? 37 pages.
Yeah, so it's extensive.
A lot of information. It's great.
Yeah.
All right. So it's right there within your app. All right. So back to the Gold Cycle page. If you take a look at the names, this is really giving us an indication of what they're doing. Pure. If you want to be more pure, if you wanted to have a energetic, bioenergetic influence by frequencies that are going to change your result to be more pure. What could pure mean? Pure thought, pure emotion, pure of toxins. Yes, yes, and yes. So that's essentially what this program is made for, is to help purify us in the initial stage. So similar with care, taking care of us in a bioenergetic format. Wouldn't you want to feel more cared for? And it's again, what does that mean? It's like, it's how you feel. How do you feel? It's caring
So kind of
for your,
I'm in bed not feeling well, and my wife brings me some chicken soup.
there you go.
Would that be kind of a
There,
care program?
there you go. 100%. Yeah. It's actually looking at you from a bioenergetic stance. What's going to change your signature to help you feel more cared for, more balanced, in a better state of being. State of being essentially is to the soul as care is to the body.
Got
Right.
it.
That's kind of the differentiation between those two. Energy, self-explanatory. If you're low on energy, maybe not one you want to do before you go to bed. Relax might be a better idea for before bed. And then release. Again, if you're holding on to resentment, wouldn't that be a good idea to release?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Could that help us
Relax
there?
personally was the first program I ever did. And I had just come from weeks of working 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., just crazy, crazy life. And I'm sitting next to my wife and I run the relax program, and she looks at me and she goes, I just felt your whole body relax. Trying to do that for you for weeks. I ran it again the next day, and my description will be, I felt like I got hit by the relax bus. It's like, bam, sometimes you're like, how you're so wound up, you have a hard time. And all of a sudden I'm like, asleep on my sister's patio for like an hour, So
Isn't that great? I mean,
yeah, it was
because
great program.
what does it take to actually be able to relax? And it takes being able to shut the mind off, being
Yeah.
able to shut the frontal lobe, dim it down a bit to allow your body to do its job. So this is where we start. This is where I recommend we start. Is the Gold Cycle page, and working on those type of alignments.
So
Of course,
I want to add something here. If you're watching this and you're someone who's kind of has had a lot of health frustration, so we say, and you're very eager to get better, be cautious not to try and do too much at once. You want to ease into it. Pure is a great one to start with. Maybe just do one program a day for a bit. See how you handle it, right? Just ease into it, because that's you don't let your frustration and your impatience cause you to want to do too many at once.
Yeah, remember, these are bioenergetic influences. So you run this program, and you could be an early responder, which is one that instantaneously has an effect, but it can also be a delayed reaction. So you run the pure, well, I don't feel anything. I felt the tingly thing, but I don't feel anything really. I'm not much different. And then later on that evening, suddenly you find that you're having a detox symptom. This is important to not only be easing into it, but also self-care. Self-care management is super important. And if you've ever had a deep tissue massage, what's the masseuse tell you to do prior and after your session?
Hydrate.
Always hydrate.
Yeah.
Yep. Because
Reminds me, I need to drink some more water myself.
what happens is that the body, when the masseuse is moving the toxins within the tissues of your body, it moves them back into your bloodstream. And then your bloodstream then will move those toxins into your excretion systems, and you'll pee them out. through your kidneys, right? That's the process. The bladder and the kidneys, those are all ways of moving stuff out of your body, including our sweat glands and the salivary and such as breathing and the whole works. But the biggest modality for moving those toxins is through the water in your system. If you're dehydrated, there's not going to be a lot of movement. And so those toxins, when they're moved out of the tissues, they go right in the bloodstream. And then what? They don't go anywhere. They go right back into the tissues, and you feel those achy things in the joints and the muscles. And yeah, you really are back to square one. So self-care, very important. And I recommend when you're running these programs is that at least a liter of water prior to your sessions.
Mm-hmm.
Movement is a big key thing because you want the endocrine systems, the lymphatic systems to move those toxins as well. So movement in the body prior, maybe you do some stretching, some yoga, maybe you do just a walk or something like that. Plenty of water, do your session. Afterwards, do some grounding. Do some grounding to allow that that grounding effect to get
What does
rid.
that mean for some people? Grounding.
Yeah, great question. We can assume that that's a
Sure.
known entity. So grounding is a whole nother fun way that nature has provided us a detox or a release of energy. The earth has got a negative charge to it, and we typically collect a lot of charged material and energy within us. So these charged parts of us, they have they collect within our systems, organs, and cells. And to neutralize those or to release that, we can spend some time on the earth, right? Either barefoot in the dirt, in the grass, the sandy beach, and some water. There's all kinds of things out there. There's grounding mats. There's various ways that you can ground yourself, and look into that, because like we saw earlier, when we go to YouTube and we look for how to get hard close an app, well, there's a lot of stuff on grounding as well.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
I highly recommend after each program to spend 5 or 10 minutes grounding.
Get your feet in the dirt. Yeah. I've previously used a grounding sheet on my bed.
Yep.
Loved it.
Yep.
Super
Yep.
effective. Yeah.
Yeah. Those
Awesome.
are the grounding mats, grounding sheets, all kinds of stuff like that is available out there. So, so that's kind of the gold cycle, that whole page. Now that's basically the bare minimum, which is, I use that term lightly. It's a lot right here that's available for
Yeah.
someone who gets the gold series or gold edition. Man, tons of stuff right there.
You could get amazing results, and in a very simple way without overwhelming your stuff. Just hang out here for a while.
Yep. And how many a day? Recommended. Again, if we think that if we're in such bad shape, we better get a lot going on right now, right? That's actually opposite's true. If we have a lot of things going on with us physically, health wise, it's even more necessary to go slow and take your time and really spend a lot of time in that self-care protocol of hydration, of electrolytes, right? Of grounding, of movement, stretching, yoga, like I said, anything, movement. And do no more than 3 programs a day. Start with one. Just start with
Yeah.
one and work
Just
your
put your
way.
toe in the water. Test it.
There you go. There you go. Yeah,
You
put
might
your
need to add
toe
a
in the
little
water.
cold water. You might need to add a lot. You just see how you handle it first. Perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
excited. Let's hook you up, man. What do we do?
All right. So what came with your Healy is a set of wristbands,
Yeah. Okay.
as
Got some
as
wristbands here.
well. Yep, as well as what came or some sticky pads, right? These little sticky pad thingies. So the wristbands themselves, there's 2 of them in the package.
All right.
Take those guys out.
I'm gonna get off your phone and we'll have a little bigger view on this. So
There's the
wrist
band.
strap. We got bands. I've got a little different type of sticky pad, but
Yep.
sticky
So
pad,
those,
bands. and cords. Perfect.
So what comes with it are these pairs of little round sticky pads. And these are electrodes that are peel and stick. You peel them off and you stick them to your skin somewhere, right? Well, we're going to figure out where that is, but those are peel and sticks. The electrodes, the wristband electrodes, those go around your wrists. And there is two sides to those electrodes. There is a shiny, silvery gold side, shiny side. Yep. And then there's a black side. There you go. And one side of that also has a little button, a little snap button. There it is. So the snap part does not go against your skin. That's pretty easy because that's where the wire connects. It connects right there. So the snap on the wristband and the wire has a snap end also. So you got a socket and a tab. You snap those together, click, and now they're connected. See that? Yeah. And that's a good solid fit. You should feel a nice solid fit. One of the things that I recommend to do is I have a little spritzer bottle, and what's in there is some water and a little Himalayan sea salt. And so it's a little saltwater solution. What's the significance of the salt? Well, it's a mineral, so it helps conduction, right? We got a little bit of water, a little bit of mineral in there. Now I can help the conduction of my skin, or you can use, there you go. Tell them about that.
This is an electrode gel. You can get off Amazon, a large bottle, small bottle. It's also, instead of water, you can use a little bit of gel here, like that. Just increase conductivity.
And that's the important part, because what we're doing, we're actually sending an electrical current into the body. No, don't be afraid, because it's a small microcurrent. It's a very, very small amount. I don't know, maybe you guys have heard of some of those devices called a TENS unit. Mm-hmm. Stephen showed those pads, those larger pads that he has there. These larger pads are, a lot of times, these are what comes with the TENS unit. They stick on your body. You hook the leads up, you turn that device on, and your muscles will actually contract and move, right? Because of the current. That is not microcurrent. Okay. That's a lot of current to force the body to do that. So if you are aware of what a TENS unit is, and how it affects us, this is not going to be that way. It's not going to convulse your body. It's not going to cause those kind of things. So it's much more subtle. So once you've got your either water or conductive gel, either on your wrists or on the band, and then you put those bands on your body. To put those bands on,
sometimes I might moisten the straps, just with a little bit of water, right? Too.
Yes.
Sometimes occasionally you'll find putting a little gel or something on the metal connection sometimes can help a little bit.
Yeah, electronically, the design of this system isn't necessary to do anything between the tab and the wire itself. The most of our challenges come from the connection or conductivity between the strap and our skin. So what I'll normally do is I'll put the tab just inside the buckle, hold it like that. I'll put my hand through and then pull it tight, because that makes it a little bit easier to put on. It's Velcro. So I just wrap that around, and now it's stuck to me. And I've got the button. Now, where do you put the button? Do you put it on the edge of your wrist? Do you put it on the top of your wrist? Do you put it on the inside of your wrist? That's really dependent upon you and what are you going to do. The button position is irrelevant, because the conductive strip is the inside of the strap that's against your skin right now. So the button position is just convenience for you. If you want it to be on the inside of your wrist to where the wire is, just less intrusive, great, no big deal. So that's normally why I put mine, is I put it on the inside of my wrist, and that's where the button is, and that's where I attach the wire. I actually, by the way, I actually run these wires up my sleeve, in through my shirt, and come out my collar, and connect to the Healy right there. So then there's really no wires exposed, you know, to catch on stuff because I'm pretty active.
I will often wear long sleeve shirts. Even if it's warmer weather, I wear a long sleeve shirt that's cool. So I'll put it on my wrists. I'll attach it to the device, right? And then sometimes I'll just hold it in my mouth as I put on my shirt sleeves.
There you go.
Right? Then click it on here. Now I've got, you know, right now it will be underneath my shirt sleeves. Then it's not in my way. You know, one of the reasons to do that is to reduce the activation energy to use your device. How much more can you make it a little bit more convenient? You may use it a lot more. In other words, if it's not knowing cords everywhere, right? You have it on all day. You're like, oh, I think I'll run a program. It's already, you've already got it on you. Boom, pop it on, right?
Yep.
If you, every time you do it, you're like, okay, I got to put all the straps back on, put everything, you know, it's like you got to do that a couple times a day. The amount of times you're using the device will drop quite a bit. So I use it while I'm bike riding. I use it like running, working out. I found recently using the stamina program while doing my weight lifting program. Ooh, my reps went ping, really fun. So
yeah, and there's different programs for different purposes, especially on the fitness page, right?
yeah, awesome.
Cool stuff. Depends on what edition you have. Okay, so you've got yourself all strapped in. You're ready for takeoff. Now, remember earlier we were connected. We have the Healy connected to our smartphone, to the app.
Yeah.
And essentially now we're ready to do something with a program. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to show you, I'm going to bring my phone back on here and kind of show you what it looks like when we load a program or whatever we're doing. Let's see. I am going to bring my phone back on here. And we'll show you what's going on here. Screen. Okay. All right, so let's go back to the app. Where was the app? Way back there, right? Okay. Now, notice what has happened since I let my app shut off. I didn't activate my Healy, you know, whatever happened. Look, now what happened? I hooked up earlier and now I'm not hooked up again. What's going on? So the app is going to search again for a Healy. And if my Healy is turned off, it's going to go through this process and maybe not do anything. But if my Healy is turned on, it's going to find the Healy. And this process, give yourself patience because a lot of things are happening right now in the background that we're not aware of. It's trying to establish a connection. Like you see the picture there, there's a smart device and then a Healy, and there's this radio frequency. And it will either time out because it can't find it, or it's going to give you an option to connect back to your Healy and rescan it. Maybe you have to rescan the QR code again. It's not a bad thing. It's just a thing. We just have to be in allowance of that and just connect again. No big deal. All right. A little tip. If we've sat here with this guy spinning and spinning and spinning for 30 seconds, it's quite possible it's not going to connect, right? It's quite possible that we need to close the app, hard close the app and reopen it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Remember how we did that with an iPhone? Double click the home button. There it is. I swipe the app up and it's gone. All right. Now I'm going to make sure my Healy's on. Turn the Healy on. Green light flashing. Open the app. And when you hard close it, it kind of clears the app out. And you'll see that you're going to go back to the notice again. And we have to click on the next.
blue spinning instead of pink spinning that time.
Yep. And that's essentially the smart device opening the app. And then the app opens. That's that little spinny thing. The app opens. And what's the next routine for the app to do? Give you a disclaimer. You have to click on the next button. Now we're back into our programs. We open the Gold Cycle program. Let's just pick Pure. All right. I like that one. We'll click on the Pure. And now it's going to show us, because we're in the United States, those little sticky tabs were the only thing that came with the Healy. But we got the wrist bracelets as well. And so this little picture where you see the round dot on the wrist and the wrist bracelet is an interchangeable function. Okay, so you can interchange on the wrists where it's showing you the dots or the wrist bracelets. It's an interchangeable function. It will work the same. If you want to use the little dots, you can. But the bracelets are, they're a little bit more functional. Okay.
So
now take a look at
what
what's here.
different placements, how often will you see the suggestions on the hands, on the wrists? And how often will you see suggestion to put them somewhere else?
So every one of these programs within the app here, every program is going to show you this information you're seeing right now. So it gives you the program duration, shows you how to connect to the device. In other words, allowing the microcurrent into your body and where. It also is going to show you at the bottom, it says electrodes on both hands. The recommendation is daily for this particular program, and then tells you if the polarity is significant. Now on the device where you plugged in those wires, I don't know if you noticed on the screen.
Stop your sharing and we can show that a little closer.
On the face of your Healy, go ahead. There you go. There it is. There's a plus and a minus. See that plus and a minus? Okay, they correspond to the ports, the circular ports where you would plug the wires in. If the flow of current was polarized or significant in direction, then the app would tell you to connect the plus to the right hand and the minus to the left hand, or whatever. It's going to give you reference of plus and minus and body location.
How often do you see that important?
Never.
I've never seen it.
But,
yeah.
but it's an option when if we start to, as Healy evolves and grows, and we start working with various channels or things that we can do with microcurrent, then
so we might add something to it in the future where it might be important.
Yep, direction of flow. Yeah, could be significant down the road. It's just it's built in already. It's already built in because that is a significant understanding when we're working with energy flow. I mean, even our bodies, we have a root center all the way up to the crown. There's a movement. The torus field moves which direction, there's a certain way it operates within the body. So same thing here. We can now interact with that in a little different way. And with current flow, we can polarize with those magnetic fields. I'm an engineer, an electronics engineer specifically, and I understand when there's current flow, anytime you have electron flow from a source to a load. Now, what's a source? Could be the brain to a finger movement. The finger movement is the load. The brain is the source. There's electron flow through the nervous system. So associated with every single electron flow, there's a magnetic emission. There is a magnetic field transmitted out of that flow. And there's a very specific positive, or I should say north to south direction based on the direction of the flow. So this is a really cool phenomenon and very significant when we start to deal with polarized current flow within the body, and that direction being a very defined direction when we're trying to work with magnetic fields or torus fields, right? So just know that that's already built in.
So I'm going to pause and recap again. So we do this occasionally. So step one, download the pink app, right? Charge your device for at least 90 minutes. Okay. Turn on open the app. You may need to initially scan it, the QR code in the back. If you've done that previously, then it may just allow you to connect. Occasionally, it may not do it like that. There's a couple different, maybe 4 different ways to get it going. Maybe you need to hard close your app on your phone. Try again. Sometimes that won't work. Sometimes you might need to, what's this, rebooting the app? How often do you need to reboot your app?
Yeah, hard close the app and reopen it. Anytime there is a connection error,
Right.
then hard close the app and reopen it.
How about, do you ever need to, so you might need to hard close the app and reopen it. How about rebooting the device?
So that's another thing we want to bookmark here within the video is actually how do you, what we call hard reset the device. And there is a function that the device has, which is called a hard reset. And that is a very distinct press and hold of the power button.
Now, my insight is you're going to have to press this much harder than you would think for a little device. Okay. You're like, I'm going to break it. You're not going to break it. Right. I had a woman with rheumatoid arthritis in her hands who could not hard reset her device. She wasn't strong enough. Okay. She couldn't. So when I'm pushing this, if I push it soft, the button doesn't go in. I don't know what kind of, how this is set up, but I'm 20 seconds, right? I'm waiting. Boom, there. Solid light. That means I just rebooted it.
Yep. And
right?
that solid light comes on while he's holding that button down. The solid light comes on, and then you release the button, and the solid light will stay on for a few seconds. And when that solid light goes off, then it's hard reset. It basically, the device is reset. So
Now
if there were
start
any,
it again.
Yep, you can start it right back up, and now it's running again. But if there were any issues with the device connecting, people are having troubles with it connecting, people are having troubles with it charging incorrectly, all that stuff, that's all fixed or corrected by that hard reset.
Okay.
So those are some things.
Hard close the app, maybe reboot the device. Sometimes people get results just by maybe turning the Bluetooth on and off on the phone. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes restarting your phone, right? And sometimes in a random order of all this together. Right.
So what I'll do is I'll give you a very distinct sequence in which we can, and we'll bookmark this in the video too, that you can go to this very distinct sequence of essentially starting at ground zero. Perfect. Right, starting at ground zero. So we'll make sure and get into that a little bit later in the video.
Okay, let's do that. So let's go back to screen share your device again. We're in the program. We're gonna start the program. We're hooked up. We're ready to go. What do we do now?
Okay, so let's go again back to the app. So I'm gonna turn my Healy off and closed my app, all that kind of stuff, so that I could reconnect. Hang on a second. Sorry about that. There we go. All right. So this is what you see. This is a normal screen, and you see the little blue thing turning. You see the disclaimer. Click on the next. Now we're at our programs.
Boom.
All right.
That was quick that time. Easy.
Yeah. So this is, see how it as we get to be familiar with this, you'll see certain things and know when to close the app and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty, you'll get to know your device. All right, let's go back to the gold cycle. We're going to choose pure. We kind of went through how we would connect to the device. And remember, these little black dots are interchangeable with the wrist bracelets. So we can still do either one, right? More convenient is going to be what? The wrist bracelets. Okay. Yep. So we hit the start button. Basically the app is always going to show us when we begin the program, it's going to show us all this information, the name of the program, duration, how to attach, frequency of use, and if it's polarized. Hit the start key. And what happens next is there's a very quick, rapid flash of the green light and the blue light. What's happening right now is you see a progress bar across your screen. And
So I'm
there's
also
that.
loading a program on mine right now. So that's
Okay.
what.
Yep. So this is the load function. This is what it looks like normally. There is data being transferred from the app to the Healy memory. Within the Healy, there's a memory to store this program. When it's done, you'll see this. All right. The green light goes back to flashing at a slower rate. The blue light continues to flash because that's our Bluetooth signal. And we start getting interaction between the app and our program, our Healy. So there's interaction here. It's basically the app right now is just a monitoring device. It's just showing us what's going on within the program. Okay, it's just showing us what's going on. The entire program is already loaded on the Healy and running, and then you can feel the microcurrents going through the wrist bracelets. So we don't really have to
do you always feel the microcurrents?
You don't always feel it. In fact, it's not necessary. In fact, it's better to not feel it. The significance of understanding whether we're getting a flow or not. Now, flow meaning there's microcurrents flowing through the body, and there is the frequencies being carried into the body on that microcurrent. And then there's that checks and balances we talked about earlier, where the frequency is resonating with the body. The body is giving feedback to the app to say that, yep, it's this is a good frequency. It's actually giving feedback to the Healy. It doesn't need the app to do this. It's doing it through the Healy itself. So there's this interaction, this checks and balances between the frequency that's going into the body and how the body's responding to the frequency. And then there's information being sent back to the Healy to say, you know, good, bad, indifferent. And then the Healy makes all the adjustments. It picks, the cool thing is like this Pure program has, I don't know, somewhere about 400 different frequencies it can choose from, 300 to 400. But my body may be needing certain frequencies to align with the Pure function. Okay. And Steven's, yours might be different. So we may not see the exact same frequencies pop up on the screen right there. The top of the screen you're seeing. Remember I told you the notification thing that every 8 to 10 seconds is going to show up. So at the top of the screen, you're seeing the frequency being displayed right now. Then it changes. Now it's a new frequency. Your phone would be giving you notifications this often. So this is why we turned that off. So there's another frequency. It just popped up. So frequency after frequency after frequency within the Pure protocol, the protocol of this program, what its purpose is. There's a listing of frequencies that's within the program, and Healy will choose those for you. It's an AI system. It's automatically doing it based on the resonance in your body, unique to you. Yeah. So yours might be different than mine. What you're seeing on the screen there, you're seeing the remaining time in the program of 49 minutes. You're seeing the actual frequency being implemented into my body. And then you're seeing like a red dot going around a circle with a tail. The tail right now is white. That's signifying that Healy is picking up flow from one lead through my body to the other lead. It's picking up flow, current flow. And earlier when we used water or used the gel between the electrodes and the body, this is improving the connection to allow for this flow, to allow for this white indicator. Go ahead.
So, yeah, one thing to understand is what we're talking about right here, the flow or the connection will be the second main point of frustration for people. Right? Step one, actually connecting the device, right? Remember, several different things to try, whether you're hard closing the app, rebooting the device, opening and closing the Bluetooth. May have to do that a couple times. Then you come to this and you're like, see, for example, look at this. I'm also running Pure, and I don't know if you can tell, mine is in the black. Interesting. Mine is in the black, but his is working, right? Even his will, if you'll notice, his is even working when his frequency is lower than mine, right? Sometimes I'll find like if the frequency drops below 100, it will go from connected to not connected, right? So now one thing I do not hydrate well enough, and I just took a super hot bath, right? I'm guessing Ken is a little more disciplined in hydrating his body than I am, okay? So if sometimes I can get this to go, see right now it's black, and I have it at 15%. Sometimes if I go maybe up to 40%, no, that didn't go in either that time. Now it's back. So for me, sometimes turning it to a higher percentage, all of a sudden it will go into white, right? So it could be Ken's better hydrated than I am, right? All sorts of different things, right? What typically are some of the keys to getting this to go into white for people?
So great points there that Stephen made about the frequency itself. The higher the frequency, the closer to energy. The lower the frequency, the closer to matter. All right. So density. Lower frequencies tend to take a little more punch to get through the body. They're closer to density. They take more energy, more power to get through. So typically anything under about 400 hertz, you're going to take more power to get through. See how it just changed? I went down to 11.4 and now it went black. So if I was to up the power a little bit, and then it would get, well, it switched to frequencies. But higher frequencies are going to tend to go through the body and then get resonance with the body a little bit easier. So that's that. We're looking at flow. We're still looking at current flow, literally a frequency or a current flow of energy, of current. So what's the load on the end of the circuit? That's us. We're the load. And if we're resistant in any way, whether it's being hydration or connection between the wrist bracelets and the skin, or skin type, or any of that kind of stuff, we're going to get a black signal. If there's a black indicator, does that mean we're getting nothing? Not necessarily. It's just measuring flow. So you see now mine is moving from black to white. It's at 0.4 hertz. And then it goes up to 121,000 hertz. Those higher frequencies are going to be really easy. I can drop this power way down. There's a kind of a sweet spot between where we're feeling a tingly sensation and having a white signal, or not feeling anything and having a black signal. There's a sweet spot in there that we can adjust the intensity down to where we can still just barely feel it.
So I think it's amazing that you get even any white signal at such a low frequency. You must be very well hydrated. Or
two things. I have a very, okay, so there's actually three things we want to look at the equation. Hydration is one, water. The other one is electrolytes, because minerals within the body is how energy is transferred. Right? The water in our body, the minerals within our body, all that is how it's transferred. So you see it's toggling, and I'm at 25% in the intensity. It was toggling black and white, black and white. But minerals, and then here's another one to consider, is reluctance. We forget that our mind plays a part of this. There's a condition called nocebo and placebo. Those are how the mind plays into the equation of our acceptance. If we're resistive in nature, resistive in personality, resistive in attitude, it's going to have a biological effect.
Yeah, interesting. You know, Terry Perez talked about that. Someone of her said it just won't work. It won't go into black, won't go in black. So Terry had her, shipped it to her, hooked it up to herself. It worked just fine. She even videotaped it, sent it back to the woman. The woman changed her attitude, and all of a sudden the device worked just fine.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, that's the key thing to understand, that we are part of the equation. It's hooked to us. It's not hooked to our neighbor. So we got to figure out how to make this work.
So let's do this. I'm going to close your screen sharing, and I want to talk a bit about.
Before you do,
oh, sorry.
Never mind. Okay, I was going to talk about progress there. for a second.
Yeah, so we can talk, you can talk about it from mine if you want.
Yeah, underneath that circle, that oscillating circle, you don't have a progress yet because it typically takes about 10 minutes or so before there's a progress, maybe
Yeah.
15. So no worries.
So I want to talk a bit about, maybe I've had my device for a while and all of a sudden I can't get it to connect anymore. I can't, no matter what I do, it won't go into white. It used to, it doesn't anymore. My device is broken. I'm gonna need to put in a ticket, right? What can
Yeah.
we do to hack this? Now, you've talked about this, Gray. It's like sometimes what we have to do on when things aren't working is isolate the issue. Does that make sense? Sometimes when people have issues, I'm like, well, try running it on an Android instead of an iPhone, right? Then if it's a problem with both, then you know it's the device. If it works on the Android but not the iPhone, now you know where in what part of the team the breakdown is. Okay, so I want to give you, for example, look at my wrist. See, I have two sets of bands that look the exact same. The bands on here are my bands. These bands are my wife's bands, right? You notice I have it on my wife's bands right now. No connection issue whatsoever. I take the snap off. I put it on my bands. Boom. Won't work anymore. To get my bands to work, I have to use an excessive amount of gel. Why is that? I know it's not my device now, though, don't I? It's the bands, right? Also, sometimes what you might find is sometimes it can be the cords, right? These cords can sometimes be the issue, right?
Yep.
You have an extra set of cords. Try switching the cords out. Now, you showed me this cool thing of, say, for example, if I were to take, I'm like, is it me or is it the device, right? So if I took my bands off, right, what can we do? We can skip me and go directly to, let's just stick them right together. How's that? So if we do that and we have a connection, then it's like, okay, well, it does work, right?
Yep.
If I stick myself back into the mix and all of a sudden it's not working anymore, it's like either it's maybe a conductivity between me and my skin or my resistance or my hydration or something, right?
Yep. That's how we do a hardware test. We do a hardware test and find out if somehow that some of the hardware, whether it be a wire that's damaged internally, we can't see that because you see these wires here. You know, it's just a white piece of, I don't know. I don't see any wires. What do wires look like? You know, normally it's like a piece of copper strand or something like that. I don't see any copper strand. It's actually inside this, but yet those copper strands could get broken inside this because we're active. We're moving around. You know, we bend these a lot and move them around a lot. So it could be that they get broken internally and we can't see that. So, so that's a good way to test your hardware, is to hook it all up and then just touch the bands together. There's another test that you can do when it comes to the sticky pads. You know, I did a video and I showed a little bit on the screen about using a butter knife. You know, you can use a standard kitchen butter knife. I don't have one handy right here, but I want to show you how to do that.
Something myself. I'm like, I don't see anything here.
Something that's metal conductive. Here, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I don't have anything handy.
Here we go. Watch this. I'll take that metal.
Yep. And it's a little harder when you're doing it with if you have the sticky pads. Yeah, that works. So we're just looking at completing a circuit, right? We're completing a circuit. And so if we have these little sticky pads and we have the sticky pads connected to our leads, and we have anything metal, you know, we have a pen that has a metal clip on it, and we touch those together on that metal clip. It's going to complete the circuit. I used a butter knife. I took these two sticky pads and stuck them to a butter knife on each side.
Will the sticky pads just touching each other work?
They will, but you touch them together, you're not going to get them apart.
Right.
They're super sticky. I can do it. Let's just touch just the edges of it like this, and yeah, you're still going to pull the goo apart. So
too much goo. Got it.
Yeah. It's better to just use something like a butter knife. But anyway, the point is eliminating us in the circuit to see if it's something to do with the hardware. And if the hardware is still functioning and you still get the white circle, that means it's not the hardware. It's something to do with us, and we need to start to research that. And as you mentioned too, you've got two sets of straps there. One works differently than the other. So
as I was sitting here thinking about it, I think one thing I'm going to try and do is I put, electrode gel after electrode gel after electrode gel. I have a feeling I just need to clean them, and maybe there's some residual goo left over from electrode gel dries that is killing the conductivity of it. That's my thinking.
Yeah, so. And I don't put any of the gel on the tab or the receptor site. I don't put any on there because that's a metallic connection that was designed to be intact just based on its mechanics. There is a specific mechanics, and there's two ways that a circuit is measured: one in the mechanical connection and two the electrical connection. And the button and the receiver tab on the wire have both. And so typically where our challenge lies is between the strap and the skin.
I have found it on rare occasions that will help. Mostly if you're using an off-brand sticky pad, when you clip it on here, it's not really a firm snap. I mean, it technically holds on there, but it falls off easy. And sometimes using gel there's helped, but sometimes these don't, the tolerance isn't up to standard, and you're not getting the nice snap like here, like that's not coming off, right? Sometimes these TENS pads or different things you might buy on Amazon don't have nearly that good a connection, and so that's sometimes something I've run into.
Yeah, it's actually a very significant issue because there's a very distinct different measurement of the snap diameter on some of the aftermarket pads or whatever, even wristbands. People are getting these aftermarket wristbands, and there's a very distinct difference in their electrical influence on the circuit, because these wristbands that come with Healy, they're designed to transmit information into the body, give information into the body, current and frequency. Other types of wristbands say that they're designed for static discharge functions, right? You put them on the wrist, they look similar, and you plug in similar, but their purpose is to take static energy out of the body, right? To discharge the body. That's pulling information from the body, a different direction of flow. So that's the key thing. And same thing with some of these sticky pads that we're able to get out there. Some of them are maybe EKG pads. What's an EKG pad doing?
These would be EKG pads if anyone's curious.
Red dot electrodes.
Right, so that's an EKG pad.
And some of the EKG pads have a very distinct purpose. I'm not saying that they won't do some of the job, but their purpose is to read information from the body, not put information into the body. There's a different direction of flow.
Yeah.
So that's key.
I've found that these aren't ideal. I do occasionally use them, and they do work. The only reason I use them is because they're so sticky that for certain situations they're better. Like if I'm going on a bike ride, these will stick on. The regular reusable ones won't, right? Yeah. And that's the only, I realize they're not ideal, but I haven't found regular sticky pads that are specifically just TENS type pads that won't come off. If I find some, I'll certainly tell everybody, but
Yeah, there's these little hacks that we do. There's a product called Coban, which is it's a sticky wrap that's just, you just put around, like it's for wounds and such. It's called Coban. Coban is it's medical grade, designed to go on skin, wraps around and sticks to itself like an old Ace bandage. You remember how that
Yeah.
was, how those were? And so you can put a sticky pad on a part of your body and then wrap it in Coban, put the wire on it, wrap it in Coban.
Any suggestions? Like, I use that, have to use that often. I'm doing it on my lower back while bike riding.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of a tough place to do that.
No, I wouldn't recommend doing that Coban thing around the waist. And no, you would want to find a way to like using these extra sticky pads. Another thing to remember about these sticky pads, you hydrate them a bit, get them warm water wet, and man, the sticky power triples.
Oh, warm and wet. I will try that.
Warm and wet, and because they do get dirty, and so you can get them warm and wet and start and wipe them off, clean them off, and then they stick even better when you've done that process. And you can
I
get a
will
little
try that.
Yeah.
So anything we've left out on the, by the way, I've got a progress bar on my thing now. We want to talk about that.
Yes, let's do. So at the bottom of that circle, you'll see a progress, and it's a number between -99 and +99. You're seeing it -52% progress right there for that particular frequency that is being given. And what that means, and you'll see it's going +58 for that particular program, or for that particular frequency. What that means is that his body is 85% complete resonance with that frequency, or -10% resonant with that frequency. And what that means is, like, if it's negative, let's say it's -99, it just means that that frequency is really needed within the body to raise the resonant frequency of that particular purpose, whatever the program's doing, that tissue or that issue or that organ or that cell. That grouping is now resonating with that frequency to the percentage of progress you're seeing right there. Okay, so that's what that all means.
So is it, the more it's in negative, the more it's an indication that my body needs this?
Yes.
All right. Because, by the way, I didn't use the resonance scan or muscle test to decide to do the pure, and I often don't. So this is an atypical program for me. So it's interesting that most of it's saying meh, meh, right? Kind of meh, not like woohoo, you know. So awesome. So I've got let's, on your phone, let's go back into the Pink Dot app and back into the pain programs, because I got some questions in there.
Okay, let's go. Excuse me. Let's go back and share. Screen shares ended. All right, here we go. All right, so got to go back to the Pink Dot app. Where is it? Right there. And I want you to see something. Well, I'm disconnected, by the way. No wonder I'm getting black. Even though I shut the app off, the Healy was still running the whole time, right? So when I open the app back up, it goes right back to the elapsed timer, right back to the exact function, whatever it was that was supposed to be happening within the app in that period of time. It goes right back to monitoring what was happening. So pretty cool. Like I said, everything is loaded on the Healy. It's all happening from the Healy. You don't need the app. You can actually close it.
So if I'm freaked out about Bluetooth, then I can load the app onto the Healy device, start it, and if I put my phone somewhere else or even turn my phone off, would it still keep running?
Absolutely. And let me give you another little fun little hack. I'm going to up my progress. So you see that particular program, or that Healy, or that frequency right now is 95% progress on my body, I want to tell you that this is kind of significant. Let's just talk about these frequencies for just a second. When my body gets to 100%, you're actually not going to see 100%. It only goes from negative 99 to positive 99. You're not going to see 100%. Why? Because when it reaches 100%, it actually kicks that particular frequency out of the routine. It doesn't give you what you don't need.
Oh, got it.
So
So
right
it's
now,
always running this program for you different every single time.
every time, it's always unique to your particular condition in the present moment. Always unique to you in the present moment. So if there's another thing, I got 27 minutes left on my program, you see, 27 minutes. Let's say that I was super receptive and all of these frequencies were very effective and my body started to resonate with every one of them to 100%. The program will pick them off one at a time, and get rid of them because you're 100% resonant. It's not going to give you what you don't need. And suddenly there's no frequencies left to give you, and you still have 27 minutes left. Well, the program will just stop because it's done its job. I mean,
Oh, interesting.
that's kind of cool, right? Now,
And
that's never happened.
that significantly sets us apart from anything else out there, right? No other device, program, nothing's smart like that, reading you all the time to see actually how you're doing with this, right?
In real time. Yeah, it's always evaluating you and your needs and the resonance. Resonance means that there is a coherence or a harmony with your body's system and the frequency being given. And once you get to full harmony, full resonance, that particular frequency is done. It's done its job, and you'll feel the effects of it. There'll be some biological, psychological, or energetic upgrade
Interesting.
because of it. So that's happening in real time. And I wanted to make sure we pointed out that cool feature because this is the only system on the planet that does this.
That is super cool.
Yeah. So you want to go back to the app and just talk about something.
I've got some questions under the pain programs category.
Awesome. Let's now I'm going to show you how to stop a program. If I tap on the center of this oscillating circle, I tap on
Tap
it,
being
click.
like that, pressing and holding, and is not a tap.
That's correct. We're back to tapping. One tap. You see the little square circle or the circle with the X in it pops up. That means it's paused. So I can pause the program too, do what I want to do, adjust my straps, put some more hydration on it or some more gel, whatever I want to do. And then I can tap on it again and it kicks right back into where it left off. All right?
Okay, cool.
If I tap on it again, now that's paused. If I hit the little X, now it says I can leave the program. Do I want to leave it? Yes, I do. Now it's back to my menu. And I can, what I did is I went from the gold cycle page. I clicked on the three little bars at the top left, the hamburger. And now we're in our menu choices. I want to take a look at the top right of the screen. You see a percentage on the battery as well as a little fan there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that tells me Healy's battery charge right now, the 93% battery life left. And then the fan tells me how well the Bluetooth signal is between the Healy device hardware and the app. Okay, that's nothing to do with your Wi-Fi.
Got it. Okay.
I want to show you
That's not a Wi-Fi thing. That's a connectivity, Bluetooth connectivity signal. Okay.
That's giving us an indication of how strong the Bluetooth. Now watch this. If I cup it in my hands, look at that signal. I can actually, it's not very strong. So people are concerned. You mentioned it earlier. People are concerned about the Bluetooth being so significant and that 2.4 gigahertz signal. It's going to fry my body or whatever. It's going to have its influence on me. It's not that strong. It's a lot less strong than your earbuds.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot
my
less
earbuds,
strong.
I can walk all over the place and it's grabbing it no matter what. Yeah.
Yep. Healy's purposely designed the Bluetooth signal to be what's called very low power, VLP, very low power Bluetooth signal. So it's not going to be that strong. You can actually decay the signal by a very short distance. You get too far away, your Healy is not going to talk to your app, and that's okay. If you're running a pink dot program, it's all loaded here anyway. I don't have to worry about it. It's going to still run, even though
I'm super glad you're talking about this, because I've had long discussions with people on Facebook on them freaking out. I'm like, dude, the thing is not that strong. And they're like, no, it's that blah, 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 blah. I'm like, whatever. So that's a great demonstration there. You know, I promise you, if I cut my ears over like this,
we can still hear you.
I can still hear you. Why? Because my earbuds kick butt on power. So probably not the healthiest thing to wear all the time.
Well, it's still it's still below harmful levels, what they say, but Healy is even below. So it's like, yeah.
And here, you know, one thing I will say is this, is that I think it's very important. People take the wrong approach if people feel very sensitive to electrosmog and their phones and signals, and their body freaks out. The mistake people do is they want to get rid of all the electronics, instead of going, why is my body sensitive but your body isn't?
Yeah.
It's because your body's in balance, my body is not. And what does the Healy device do really well? Put people's bodies back in balance, right? That's the really important thing. So I wear earbuds. I'm around electronics all the time. Never in the scan does it show up electrosmog or cell phone or anything. Not ever once, period. Never. Because I'm a healthy, very balanced person, you know. So anyways.
And that's because of the things you do behind the scenes. I mean, there's certain things that we do behind the scenes, and part of what we talked about earlier was the self-care protocol that has to be part of our regimen when we're doing this work with Healy. It's got to be part of our regimen.
So I got some questions here. This is a little confusing. Two things are labeled. The rest are like numbers, and I don't understand what programs. Some stuff came up in the resonance, told me to go into the pain program. I show up here to run the program, and I got no stinking idea what's what, right?
Yeah, and if you can read these hieroglyphics, like you can see the one little picture kind of has a picture of a tooth in it, that number 3. Yeah. So you might think that has something to do with tooth or jaw or whatever. And you see the other one that kind of looks like a bone in a socket, might be something to do with the number 4. Might be something to do with a joint, right? And then another, I don't have any idea what those are, right? So there is a document that is available to describe what these are based on the Roman numbers.
Right. And we can probably could we share a picture of that document linked in this video?
Yeah, we should be able to. It's in the back office, and so there's I actually have. Let's see. Yeah,
so there's a couple things people can do. We can share a picture of this that actually has our correct programs written out. You can also, if you go to your manual, you'll notice in the manual under the pain local stimulation category and description, it will describe all the different programs, right? And when you look at the numbers, it will tell you what all these programs are. And then if you look in the manual, number 6 will say something, and you go back here, you go, okay, well, I know that symbol is for whatever program, right?
For tooth or for joint or for whatever. Yeah.
So one of the things to understand about this is they're like, what in the world? Why do they do this? It's like, here's the thing. We deal in multiple countries with multiple regulatory bodies with changing whims of what's safe, not safe. What might be safe for someone in Germany is not safe for someone in the US. Right?
It's compliance, and it's
the government.
the government regulations. It's important that we remain compliant because we want to safeguard the ability to have this in the United States. So we just go with it, you know, and that's why we have like a map has a legend somewhere on it to tell you how much is a mile, and tells you what the color of the roads mean and all that kind of stuff. So this is the same thing. We've got references on the screen here, and then we have a legend within the descriptions to tell us what they do. So it's best to know that before you start opening this and using this particular page, because you may be lost, right?
Yeah.
So having that available, and then referring to that. Now, we can guess, but there's a couple of them that are labeled that are very, very plain. So pain, right? Just generic pain. This is going to be systemic pain. Systemic, meaning that it could be a pain anywhere in your body. And this pain program is going to help balance that. And then we have the next one is pain local. I want to show you what it looks like when we open one of those programs. If we go pain, um, pain systemic, this is the upper section where they're showing you that they have these the sticky pads connected. This is just essentially below the brainstem, right there in that deltoid process where there's a lot of nerve information going on there. So when you put the sticky pads there and run this pain program, that's where it starts to influence the information highway and starts to help you with the pain alignment, or I should say, not pain alignment, but the removal of pain. So you can start to balance that. So this is showing you how we're looking at the entire nervous system in the body. Now let's go back and take a look at pain local. Now take a look at where we put the sticky pads here. So what's that? It's common sense, pain locally. If you have pain in the elbow, pain in the knee, pain in the back, like Stephen mentioned. So you're going to put those sticky pads in a certain area, and take a look at it. Tells you, again, where to do it, how to do it, and how often to run this program. You're typically running these around 4 inches apart, these pads, 4 to 5 inches apart, so that you can get information between those two pads into the body. So each side of the knee, each side of the elbow, each side of the shoulder, that kind of thing. All right. So this is self-explanatory. Now let's go back and take a look at some of the others. There's the one that has the tooth looking thing on it. All right. Again, if we're looking at jaw or tooth or something like that that's relative to this program, we're probably going to put those sticky pads where? Somewhere around that area of the body.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to here. This one showed a picture. Number 4 showed something around what may be illustrated as a joint. So again, looking at the definitions of what this means, I guarantee you it talks about joint pain. Okay. Something going on with the joint, discomfort. All right. And then again, each one shows us how to connect. Number 7 and number 8. Take a look at the duration of the program. 20 minutes. We'll say, you can take a look at every one of these. Every one of them is 20 minutes. Okay. We're working with a pain center. It doesn't take a lot of time. So this is a very short program. When you're running this program, it's actually not a whole bunch of different frequencies, by the way. Essentially, when we're looking at working on the pain centers, the pain meridians, or the pain information center of our brain and nervous system, it doesn't take a whole lot of frequencies. I'm going to show you. I'm going to go ahead and open this particular one, which is pain general. Let's start it. See how quickly that loaded? It's only 20 minutes long. And look at, it's not even going to show you the frequency. So it's running, and I can feel the tingly in my body right now. And I'm connected to the wristbands instead of having it on the back of the brainstem. But I'm getting flow. And this is not broken. It's not broken. It's normal. It loads really fast. It's a very short duration, and it's a very proprietary signal going through the body. Okay. All right. I'm going to get out of that one. Then we'll just try a different one. That's one of the local stimulations. See how quickly that loaded? There's not that long progress bar. Why? There's not a lot of information being transferred to the Healy right now. This is 30 minutes, 0.3 hertz. Not a lot of variations in which the Healy has to attune to. It's doing its job. I can feel it. I can feel it, and I'm only at 15%. And you can see that there's a white bar. Anything else you want to talk about the pain programs? This is normal, by the way. It's not broken if it's not changing and showing all this different stuff.
Yeah.
This is
The hack I might tell people is, you know, if you went in your back office and you looked up a manual, but you looked it up for German, like like for the UK, so English European version of the manual, you might get a lot of insight on the pain programs, on what they're called and how to use them. And that's all I'll say about that.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. There's a lot that they can talk about in other countries.
yeah, we'll leave it at that. Cool.
All right.
Do we have much more to go with the, you know, get your manual, play around, have fun. There's tons of different programs in here. Bioenergetic balance and meridians and fitness and all sorts of things. Look at the descriptions, try them, have fun.
One thing I want to show you, based on the different editions, we have the 4 different editions of the Healy. You have the gold, you have the holistic, you have the holistic plus, and you have the resonance, right? And the first 3 essentially are going to be various numbers of these pages of programs. That's essentially the difference. You know, the first one is the gold cycle page. You get that page. You also get eventually, you see the word deep cycle down there?
Yeah.
So you're also going to get deep cycle. That comes with every one of the editions. So it's an additional page that has 12 programs on it. Look at the various descriptions. Great programs designed specifically for body alignments and balancing. So great stuff there. That's going to come with the gold page as well. Healy created a very distinct page called the Bioenergetic Support, and one program on there called Bioenergetic Boost. And it's made to do just that, bioenergetically boost the body. What is the bioenergetic systems? Everything, including our immune system, right? A very important system that the body utilizes to fight off or to protect itself. So this particular page was created and given free to everyone.
In the spring.
It was
when
done
you're
in the
told
spring.
to stay in your house and it's not for claustrophobia. How's that?
And it was initially launched in Asia, by the way, to that market first for a specific reason, and then given globally as the need spread globally. Okay,
Yeah.
so
perfect.
So now we have that. All right, so that's pretty cool. And then, as mentioned earlier, the therapist TAN page, the therapist page, if you were to work with a time waiver therapist, they would custom build you programs and load them to your Healy app right here. Every edition has this page. So every edition has the ability to seek additional, very specific help from the therapist. There's many time waiver therapists that work and help you. So that's a great gift.
I did do that recently. I downloaded a Solfeggio program.
Yeah.
And by the way, to do it, if you go to the TAN button, if you scroll back down, tap on the therapist TAN, and you just click. If you click enable, they'll need a particular number off of here, and you give that to the time waiver practitioner, that number right there, and then they will know how to download, how to give you the program that you specifically purchased from them for whatever you have a particular health challenge, you may want something that's very specifically customized for that health challenge for you from a professional time waiver practitioner. So
Yeah, and it's basically that is an address. It's the address to your app. So when you give them that number, then they can send that program to the right person. Very important.
cool. So let
All
me,
right.
before we finish with the pink dot, I just want to go over how to find and download the app on Android, if that's your situation. So to do that, I'm going to stop Ken sharing. I'm going to go into my device. Hold on, let me close out all the other programs I've got going on. All right. Boom. So here we have my Android phone. Okay. And on my Android phone, I'm going looking for the Google Play Store. Okay. And let's see here. If I can find it. Money, fitness. See if I can find it here. Yeah, goodness. All right. So we're looking for the Google Play. Where'd it go?
Maybe you'll have to use that search function.
Might have to use that search function. Let's try that. So if I type in play,
Over there.
Play Store, the one in the middle. Boom. So this is Android's version of the App Store, right? So if I type in the search box in the top, and I type in Healy, and if I just look just for the word Healy, I'll notice all the different Healy apps. The first one that shows up is the pink app. The pink app, again, is for the microcurrents. We also see the blue app. That's going to be for the doing scans and resonance analysis. The Healy Advisor is where you can, we won't talk too much about it yet, but you can use that to search for different programs for different conditions, or the Healy Watch. So I'm going to click on the install button right here. And you notice in the top that I'm on the internet, that fourth icon from the right. So it should load pretty quickly. And then boom, open it. Yes, I want to allow it to do all that good stuff and to take pictures. Yes. And if I go allow only when using the app, that should be just fine. All right. Now I'm also, let's see, we're going to shut it off from this other device here. Next. And you notice I've got this spinning app. So if you notice on my device, there's no flashing lights at the moment. So I'm going to make sure it's on. I'm going to click scan the code. Sometimes I find it helpful if I put my thumb over the thing I don't want to scan. Boom, 6E. Sometimes occasionally it will come up with garbled information. You ever have that?
Yeah.
It's in red and you're like, what the heck? Try
Yeah.
it again. Try it a couple times. Maybe you might need to type it in manually.
Or the other option too is sometimes the loading of that app was interrupted during its process and is corrupted, and you have to delete the app and reinstall the app, because that's another thing that happens, especially if that particular condition, like Steve said, it's this red garbly or it says the scan unreadable, and you type it in and it still doesn't work, then that's definitely a need for deleting the app and starting over.
Oh no, where are my programs?
Blue screen. No.
Blue screen. Settings. Here's a question for you. If I have a blue screen on someone's app and we update it and they still have a blue screen.
That's a great one. So that happens. That happens. So when this
happened for one of my clients yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, when the device is purchased and then it is getting ready to be shipped, they scan the barcode that's on the side of the box and assign it to you, and then it gets shipped out to you. And then when you get it, there's an alignment. Now, if they miss that little bleep, bleep, or whatever, they miss that process and just wind up shipping it to you, then your device comes unactivated, which means you have to put in a CS ticket to get it activated through our customer service department. So it just got missed during the processing part at the distribution center.
Got it. Yep. So log into your back office, bottom left-hand corner under support, make a ticket under activation, and just let them know that you need your device activated. You will need the serial number. So take a picture of it with your phone so you can blow it up. You can write it down because it's tiny little. By the way, I used to need reading glasses all the time. Now, if the lighting is correct and bright enough, I can read the serial number off the back of my Healy.
Nice.
Why? Because some programs in there, right? So now you see I've got all my programs. One thing to differentiate between mine and Ken's is I am currently subscribed to the digital. I've got the watch programs on here. When you get the watch, you get 24 additional programs. And I also have, I'm subscribed to the digital nutrition programs. Bunch of different stuff in there, some great stuff in there. I love the eyesight program in here. There's a, what's that dopamine program in there? I think, no, serotonin. That's the program in there that I love that one too. All sorts of fabulous stuff in there. So anyways, so we're done with that. While I'm on my phone, how about I also download the the Blue Dot app, because we're going to go, are we ready to go talk about the Heal Advisor app now, the Blue Dot, the resonance?
Do you want to do a separate or just continue rolling? What time is it?
Up to you.
Let's
do let's do a separate one, I think, actually.
Yeah. Let's do a separate one where I don't know how far are we into this one? 2 hours and 35 some minutes.
Yeah, probably long enough. Anyways, we'll come back. We'll do a second video that will be on the playlist to the right, starting with the Blue Dot app. And that way, if we do a separate video, I think we'll have the energy to do a nice, long, thorough one on that. So
yeah, but the Blue Dot app, I mean, that's kind of a super cool. That brings everything to a next level. You thought some of this interaction with the Pink Dot was cool. The Blue Dot app or the Heal Advisor Analysis app, that brings it to a whole nother level of possibility. So yeah, we're going to want to really dive into that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate your time and insight. I hope this was clear and simple for everybody. Also keep in mind the hyperlinks in the video description, right? Very important, so that you can reference that. You can go in YouTube if you need to show someone that particular spot. When you go into YouTube, and you can go to a particular spot of a video and you can share that. Maybe we can show that to people real quick here. If, for example, I go into like home button double tap, right? And I want to share this to grandma because I don't want to have to explain this to her over the phone. See this share button right here? If I click that from my computer, notice there's a start at part right there. So I can share the whole video, or I can share it starting at 16 seconds, right? Then when I copy it, when someone opens it, it's gonna have fast forwarded 16 seconds into the video. Like our video is very long. So maybe you want to share a very particular spot with somebody. When you hit the share start at, maybe you're like at 45 minutes is your answer, right? Because again, in the description part of our video, it'll say show more, right? If we go back to www.mydevicehelp.com, right? Here's, we're gonna include a bunch more videos over here, but under the main video, remember, will always be the, under more will be the descriptions, timely announcements like, hey, their server went down, don't freak out, just give it till tomorrow, it'll be fixed, don't put in a ticket, please, right? Like, or
Right.
hey, they know there's issues with iOS syncing with the cloud.
Or
It'll probably be
Bluetooth.
fixed tomorrow. Don't freak out. Just take a deep breath. Go, like, have some fun, do something else, then beat your head against the wall. So Zoom trainings that we'll put up, and it's these time-stamped links to main video. We'll put a lot of it in here. So you're not going to have to watch this whole 2.5-hour video. Boom, go right to, oh, my connection issues, whatever. We'll make it convenient for you. Anyways.
Yeah. I know you guys are
That's
going to
it.
want to watch this a couple of times, of course, but you know, 2.5 hours, that's a lot of time to hang out with
Yeah.
us, but I enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it.
It flew past. Hopefully this will be one simple video for everyone. Really simplify it and keep everything in one spot on mydevicehelp.com. So anyways,
Right on.
bless you.
All right, Stephen, thank you.